Hello, my loves, and welcome to episode 1 of the Body Wisdom Podcast. I am so stoked to be here and so excited to create this podcast for you all. My intention for starting this podcast is to create a channel for us to get to know each other a little bit more and to provide some more of my wisdom for you all. And I honestly listen to podcasts all of the time. I'm like such a podcast junkie. I listen to one episode a day, at least, sometimes two, sometimes more when I'm going on walks, at the gym, in the car. So I love a podcast so much. And so I'm really excited to create this for you all because if you're anything like me and you love podcasts, I think this is all going to land so much. And I definitely would love for you to reach out if anything is landing in particular in this podcast. If you have like a download that you want to share, or if you have any questions, please reach out to me because I love to hear from you all. And like I said, I want to deepen our relationship together. And so anytime you desire to, feel free to reach out. So let's get into episode 1. And I really wanted to spend some time to get to know each other. I want you all to get to know a little bit more about me and my story, why I'm here, and why I have gained all this knowledge to share with you all. And I get this question so often. So I wanted to take some time to answer the number one question that I often get, which is to talk a little bit about my transition from working as an occupational therapist in the traditional healthcare hospital settings to now owning my own private practice as a therapeutic somatic practitioner. So I'm really excited to open up about all of that today. I also wanted to talk about why I focus so much on helping my clients find safety within their bodies. So we'll get into that as well. And then I also, lastly, wanted to talk today about everything that I have learned from helping women heal from their anxious attachment styles and why that's a huge focus in my practice as well. So we have a lot to get into. Let's get into it. I'm really excited and we'll begin. So, in order to talk a little bit about my transition from traditional OT, we call it occupational therapy, OT, traditional OT to now working in my own private practice, we have to go 10 years. Actually, it's been 11 years now, back to when I first decided to go get my master's in occupational therapy. And the reason why I did that is because I had a deep desire to help people heal their bodies. And I wanted to do more than helping them heal their physical bodies. I also wanted to help people heal their emotional bodies. So, anything like with their mental health, their emotional well being, their thoughts, the way they feel about themselves. And I always knew from a young age that those two were connected. And I might not have had the words to describe all of that, but I definitely could feel it in my body that they were very much connected. And that is because I spent years as a dancer. I was doing ballet, tap, jazz, like all of those different styles of dance. And I always was just so connected to my body. You know, when you are a dancer or an athlete of any kind, and you just are really aware of your body. You're aware of exactly where your arms are, your legs are, like how that's all connected to what you're doing. And I really feel like that gives you like a really deep connection to your body, whether or not you're a gymnast or soccer player or basketball player, dancer, when you have that connection with yourself, like you just know that there is a big correlation between the way that you feel about yourself and your physical body. And so I didn't necessarily, like I said, have the words to describe all that, but I knew that deep down inside, I wanted to help people change the way that they felt in their bodies. So whether or not that was healing from a physical issue that they received from childbirth to, getting into a car accident, I just really felt that call. And I was really lucky to find out what occupational therapy was because I know a lot of people don't even really know what that is. which is totally understandable because unless you know somebody that has gotten OT or you yourself have been through OT, it's kind of like a niche thing. And I I always am like working on how to like describe what exactly I do to people. So yeah. So anyways, I got into grad school and I was just so excited to become an OT and to help people. I was so excited to get into the career, get into the field and help people heal their bodies. And I had big ambitions, big dreams of really changing lives. And I graduated from OT school finally in 2016. And I got my first job working at an acute rehab center for adults that have gone through like a neurological issue. So, a brain injury or spinal cord injury of that sorts. And I really loved it. I mean, all of my OT jobs I honestly really loved, but what I started to feel is that I was getting really limited with how much I could really help people because I was so controlled by insurance. And I do not know one single healthcare provider out there that doesn't share this same kind of frustration with our healthcare system and that doesn't share the same desire to like want to help people and yeah, it's really difficult to feel like you have all these desires to help this person in front of you and you can only do like what their insurance is going to cover, which can be kind of limiting. And I don't know if y'all are into human design, but I am really into human design and I'm actually a manifester. And so for me in particular, feeling like you're limited is like a no-go. Like manifestors are really, I always say like really allergic to feeling limited, to feel like they're like shoved in a box, to feel as though, they're like being told what to do. And so once I started to feel like I couldn't really take my patients where I wanted them to go, I started to look into different options. Like the idea of starting a private practice started to feel like it was the next best thing for me to do. And I started to go down that path. So that's kind of the first reason. The another reason is because when I was working and spending so much time working in the traditional healthcare setting, I learned how disconnected people actually are from their bodies. And this, and the way that I found out about this is, I would work with people all ages, but a lot of ages that I work with are people that are in their 60s, their 70s, 80s, 90s, 100 even. And the common theme that I would see from a lot of my patients is just how truly disconnected they are from their physical bodies. It's almost like their head would be right here and their body would be like over there in the other room. Like they just were so disconnected from themselves. And what this ultimately led to was, after years of living this way, is it would lead to chronic pain, autoimmune issues, chronic inflammation in the body. It would lead to a lot of like underlying health issues based off of decisions that they were making. And it led to having to go through countless surgeries, operations, years of being in physical and occupational therapy. And it just kind of led to a lot of dis-ease in the body. And I really could sense this. From a lot of my patients. And the way that I realize this is because they would tell me, oh, like I don't I don't feel what's going on. There was always like a really big disconnect of like sensation in the body and wanting to like suppress it and run away from it. And let me tell you that from experience, and I just like mean this with so much love in my heart, but you can only run away from these physical sensations in your body for so long until they catch up to you. And we all kind of go through like our teens and our 20s, 30s, however long, where it's really easy to just shove all these symptoms to the side and these sensations to the side, but they do catch up with you. And I just learned from that point, like, oh my goodness, I want to help people connect to their bodies so that they don't end up, in their 70s with all of this pain, having to go through all of these surgeries, staying in toxic relationships, which ultimately leads to like so many health issues because your emotional health is so tied to your physical health and well being. And that is going to equal how much like longevity you have in your body and how much like vitality and life force that you have. And so this was really starting to like fuel my fire for starting that private practice that I knew that I was like really wanting to create. And then what kind of added some fuel to the fire is my second job as an OT. I worked in Chicago at the number one rehab hospital in the US. It was honestly bonkers working there. It was so cool. It's called Shirley Ryan Ability Lab, and shout out to all my Shy Rye coworkers and patients that I worked with there. That place was beyond amazing. It was such a gift to work there. And I worked at okay, sorry, you can take this out, Katie. I'm just pausing because sometimes I feel like I'm not sure why it stops like that. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this all is recording. Okay, so anyways, so when I worked at that rehab hospital in Chicago, I worked on the spinal cord injury unit and it changed my life. It was amazing. And we received so many unique cases of people that had gone through really traumatic experiences, like a traumatic accident where they got a spinal cord injury, or they went through a lot of trauma and that kind of impacted their physical body so much to the point that they were getting kind of like just long term issues, I guess we'll say, to keep it short. But when I worked with my patients there, I saw them heal from so much trauma by learning how to connect back to their bodies. And one of the things that I did while I was working there is me and one of my really good PT coworkers, we started a yoga group. And I remember we like talked about it, Caroline. Shout out to Caroline. We talked about it for the longest time and I remember we were like searching on the unit for where we could have this group because there wasn't really any spaces for us to even like create this group that we really desired because we knew it would be so beneficial to our patients. So we found a closet on the unit. It was like a big utility closet, and we cleared that closet out. And with our boss's permission, we created this really nice yoga group. We brought in like essential oil diffusers and salt rock lamps and just like really vibey lighting because we really wanted a space for our patients to feel like safe. And so we had probably like 10 people at a time in that yoga group. And the yoga group was very simple. We did obviously, it was all from a seated position. And we did a lot of stretching and breathing and somatic practices to help our patients just feel grounded, feel connected to their bodies. Because again, our patients went through some unbelievable traumatic events. And not only did they go through that, but they also were faced with a huge change in their bodies. Most of them, most of them went from being able to walk to have a job to then getting into the accident to then everything changing and changing the way they moved their bodies, changing the way they moved throughout the world. Like it just changed everything. And this yoga group, I'll never forget. We would, shuffle everybody in there and then we would do the 30-minute, 40-minute yoga group. And then at the end of that group, everybody's jaw was like dropped. And you could just feel like the energy shift in the room where when the class started, it was a group of people that felt like maybe disconnected from themselves, maybe not safe, maybe scared, maybe just like so many different things. And then at the end of it, just like jaws on the floor, could not even believe how good they felt despite everything that was going on. And I left those groups thinking, this is how I'm going to help people is help them get back into their bodies to give them this feeling that no matter what, you can heal your body from what you have been through. And that just really continued to like when I was able to physically see how much could change when you connected to your bodies, I was like, okay, this is all again fueling the fire for the private practice that I'm so dreaming to begin. And I knew that I wanted to combine all of those things that I had just talked about to help women heal and connect to themselves because I wanted to create a space where I could help women connect to their bodies and heal so that they don't have to go their whole lives so disconnected and then get to their like 70s, 80s and have, or even younger, have all these like a host of problems happen. And if we can take some time to connect to ourselves now and take some time to build and deepen that connection to sensations that we have in our body and create a safe place within, we can change the world. Like, honestly, the more safety you feel in your body, the more safer you're going to make other people feel around you. So, this comes to my second point as to why I focus so much on helping my clients feel safe in their bodies. Gonna take a pause. Okay. So, the reason why I place such an emphasis on finding safety within is because most people are operating from a place of fight or flight or a freeze fawn state in their nervous system. So, when you work with me, you know, we go deep into your nervous system. And this is something that I learned as an occupational therapist was really like the science behind your nervous system and why we kind of do what we do. But our nervous system really controls our body. It controls the way that we breathe, the way that we move about the world, the way that we think about ourselves, think about others, think about the world. It really is kind of like the control system of your body. And so that's why it's so important to focus on it. But most people are operating from kind of this like reactive state where maybe something happens and they get really reactive in their bodies, or they live in like kind of a shut down, frozen, numb state. And when you're kind of oscillating back and forth between the two, it's creating a lot of inner tension in your body and it's creating a environment where there can be like a lot of inflammation that happens. There can be a desire to like stay in toxic relationships, to numb with alcohol, food, TV, drugs, all of that. And when you slow down and connect with yourself and find safety within your body, you can heal and you can feel so much better in your body. And so it's really all about safety. When you feel safe in your body, you are able to allow sensation to circulate throughout your body. And the more connected you are to yourself, the more you're going to feel these sensations. And it can be tempting to want to run away from these sensations, but it all begins with safety. You really can't heal from any sort of trauma or it doesn't even have to be like trauma or like anything in your life, childhood, things that came up in childhood, without finding that deep level of safety within your body. And so many women also, I have noticed from, doing what I do is so many women really operate from this place of like keeping their schedules really busy and always on the go, always doing things. And they haven't really slowed down to be with themselves. And the reason why is because they don't feel safe in their bodies. And just living years and years and years in this lifestyle of like go or freeze, shut down, you're not really slowing down to be with yourself. And then you're just going to create that environment of just like disconnected from yourself. And when you're disconnected from yourself, it's really difficult to have, those relationships that you so desire. And so, really, the first thing that I do with all of my clients, all of my one on one clients, and all of my clients in my group programs is help create a foundation of feeling safe. And that all starts with getting curious with what sensations are flowing and circulating throughout your body. Because the more curious you are from a place of non judgment, from a place of self compassion, the more you start to allow those sensations to circulate and to just kind of see what's going on the inside. And you start to see that, oh my goodness, when I focus on these sensations, they don't, they're not going to overtake me. I'm not going to die. It's all going to be okay, because there is a huge fear in our world of feeling sensation in the body. And if you've ever heard the term, you've got to feel your feelings and things like that, what that really means is we have to feel those sensations of our feelings instead of running away from them and just living in these reactive states. So, the reason why I focus so much on finding safety within is because it helps us all slow down and be with our bodies in a whole new way. And when you feel safe, as I mentioned before, you feel so you can help so many other people. You can help so many other people feel and find safety within their bodies, which just creates a safer world and a world that just feels so much easier to live in. I'm going to pause and take a sip of tea. And something else that I really noticed that is now super important to me is all of the women that were coming to me really were kind of identifying with having an anxious attachment style in their relationships because, of course, there is this huge desire to improve not only the relationship that you have with yourself and your own physical and emotional body, but also to heal your relationships with others in the world, whether or not that's a romantic partner, parents, children, friends, all of that. And with this desire to heal your relationships, and it really is no surprise to me here that my clients, my soul clients that were coming to me were looking to heal their anxious attachment style because of course I healed my own, and I really do feel like we always attract things that are similar to us when it comes to being a therapist, being a somatic practitioner. And yeah, so I healed my own anxious attachment style. And it was really no surprise that, of course, all of my clients were desiring to do the same thing as well. And one of the biggest things that I have learned by shifting my practice to really helping women heal their anxious attachment style and working with women that identified with an anxious attachment style is that you don't just heal your attachment style by finding a secure partner. So many of you may have read the book called Attached. It's like the first book that I personally ever read about attachment styles, and it's an amazing book. I really did like that. I felt like it really gave a lot of awareness into what the different attachment styles are and how to identify with like what exactly you're operating in the world. But the one thing that I thought was really limiting in that book is that basically it talked about how to heal from your attachment style is you basically just find a partner that's secure. And it's kind of like, okay, yeah, that sounds really nice. Like, sure, I'll go do that. And, you know, it is very important to find somebody with a secure attachment, like I don't worry, I will go into so much of this more in the later of the podcast episodes, but it is very important to identify somebody that's going to be more of a secure partner for you. But even just finding somebody that has a secure attachment style is not going to just like magically take away your relationship anxiety. when you have and you identify with an anxious attachment style, you are going to find ways to be anxious, even with somebody that is secure. And that is the biggest thing that I learned from working with so many women who identify as, having an anxious attachment style is that their relationship anxieties were still kind of going even when they were in a relationship with somebody secure. And I also noticed this myself. And this is how I also healed my attachment style was really when I was in a relationship with somebody who was more secure. And the reason why is because when we are with somebody that is secure, and let me back up for a second. And the reason why is because we need to heal and come back to our bodies and to find safety within our bodies in order to feel secure, grounded, and at peace in our relationships. So it's not about just like finding somebody that's secure and then like, oh my goodness, everything's going to just go away. We're going to feel great. We're not going to have any issues. It's all about still creating that deep level of safety within your own body. And that's really the biggest thing that I have seen and while working with my clients, but also have seen within myself. And something that I really love taking my clients through is helping them cultivate that deep level of safety within, heal their relationships with themselves, and help them find a sense of ease within their own bodies so that they can feel better in their. Okay, part two, because the first one just randomly stopped. So hopefully that doesn't happen with this one. Okay. And so, again, healing from an anxious attachment style all comes down to finding safety within your body. I mean, it really all comes down to feeling safe in your body. Any kind of physical manifestation that you're finding is happening in your body, whether or not it's chronic pain, chronic inflammation, hormonal imbalances, anything that's showing up in your body, any kind of dis-ease, you can really heal a lot of that by learning how to slow down and find safety within yourself. And that also includes our relationships and the things that we are attracting in our outer world, because that is a reflection of how safe we feel in our bodies, how safe we feel with setting boundaries with something that is not in alignment for us. So again, it just all comes down to safety. And that is what I'm just so passionate about. And now you can see, as I explained, my journey of becoming a somatic practitioner and owning my own practice and kind of leaving that traditional hospital setting, is that I really did learn that when you find safety within your body, that you can heal so much and you can really create a foundation for healing any sort of trauma that you have experienced in your life, whether or not that happened in childhood or adulthood. And really, it doesn't have to be like a huge thing. I think that there's a lot of talk about, trauma in the world, which is great. It's so helpful to bring awareness of this. And of course, I'm going to dive into this so much more in detail in future episodes, but it does not have to be like this huge thing that you went through. It really can be anything that you have experienced in your life that kind of altered the way you feel about yourself. And the way that we heal from that is by finding safety and creating that foundation of safety so that we're not running away from these sensations in our body and we're not kind of like running away from our problems, but we're really learning how to feel our feelings and how to be with them and allow them to circulate through our body so that we can learn from what they have to say, because they're always communicating to us. And the reason why I named this podcast Body Wisdom and my business is called Her Body Wisdom is because my desire is to help you connect to that wisdom within your body. And I truly believe that wisdom communicates to us through sensations. So when we are pushing away these sensations in our body, we are pushing away wisdom that is trying to communicate to us and trying to communicate to us like, hey, I have this like crazy pain right here. Maybe we should pay attention to it. Or my posture is showing me that feel a certain way about myself. And that's the reason why I keep attracting this kind of relationship in my life, or why I'm experiencing so much conflict in my relationships. And the more that we can then connect to those sensations in our body, the more we can connect to the wisdom within our souls and the wisdom that our bodies is always trying to communicate with us. So I had so much fun talking with you all today. It was so nice just getting to share a bit more about my story and how I got here, and just getting to answer this and kind of explain and answer this question that I know so many of you want to hear a little bit more about. And And if anything resonates with you, I would love to chat more with you if you're desiring to learn how to find safety within your own body so that you can heal your relationship with yourself and your relationships with others. My DMs are always open. So, yeah, I hope you all enjoy this podcast episode, and I'm so excited to connect with you more in the future.